Have you ever felt like you don't belong in this era? As if you carry memories from lives you never lived, or a wisdom that your years of existence could never justify? Carl Jung discovered something unsettling. There are people walking among us who possess an ancestral consciousness, a deep connection to something far greater and more ancient than any biography could ever explain. While most people get lost in superficial distractions, these old souls operate on a completely different frequency. They didn't choose this. They were born this way. And the most intriguing part? Jung identified specific patterns, unmistakable signs that separate these souls from the rest. If you've always felt out of place, if shallow gazes exhaust you, if solitude feels more nourishing than crowded parties, you might be one of them. But warning, these 13 signs aren't comfortable. They will confront who you think you are. The real question is, do you have the courage to find out? 1. You prefer deep silences over empty conversations. There's something almost painful about small talk for you, isn't it? While everyone around seems perfectly content discussing weather patterns, weekend plans, or the latest viral trend, you feel your energy draining with every passing minute. It's not that you're antisocial or arrogant. It's that your soul craves substance, and these surface-level exchanges feel like drinking salt water when you're dying of thirst. Jung understood this perfectly. He spoke about how certain individuals carry what he called the weight of the collective unconscious, a deeper awareness that makes trivial chatter feel almost physically uncomfortable. You're not just listening to words. You're sensing the emptiness behind them, the masks people wear, the carefully constructed personas that never touch anything real. When you do speak, your words tend to land differently. People often tell you that conversations with you feel different or deeper, though they can't always explain why. That's because you're not interested in filling silence with noise. You're interested in breaking through to something authentic, something that matters. And when you can't find that, you'd rather say nothing at all. This preference isn't about being selective or picky. It's about energetic survival. Every meaningless conversation costs you something. Every forced smile, every polite nod to topics that bore your soul. It all accumulates like debt. You've probably noticed that after social gatherings filled with shallow interactions, you feel exhausted in a way that sleep can't fix. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. Your silence isn't empty. When you're quiet, you're often perceiving things others miss entirely. You're reading the room on levels most people don't even know exist. You're noticing the sadness behind someone's laughter, the fear beneath someone's bravado, the loneliness hiding in plain sight. Your silence is active, engaged, almost archaeological in how it digs beneath surfaces. Jung would say this is because old souls don't just hear words, they hear souls. And most conversations in modern society are designed specifically to avoid soul-level communication. We've built entire social structures around keeping things light, safe, superficial. For you, this feels like living in a world where everyone speaks a language that technically makes sense but says absolutely nothing. You're not meant to waste your precious energy on empty exchanges. You're meant to seek out the rare conversations that actually nourish the soul. Only old souls do this. 13 signs. Carl Jung. 1. You prefer deep silences over empty conversations. There's something almost painful about small talk for you, isn't it? While everyone around seems perfectly content discussing weather patterns, weekend plans, or the latest viral trend, you feel your energy draining with every passing minute. It's not that you're antisocial or arrogant. It's that your soul craves substance, and these surface-level exchanges feel like drinking salt water when you're dying of thirst. Jung understood this perfectly. He spoke about how certain individuals carry what he called the weight of the collective unconscious, a deeper awareness that makes trivial chatter feel almost physically uncomfortable. You're not just listening to words. You're sensing the emptiness behind them, the masks people wear, the carefully constructed personas that never touch anything real. When you do speak, your words tend to land differently. People often tell you that conversations with you feel different or deeper, though they can't always explain why. That's because you're not interested in filling silence with noise. You're interested in breaking through to something authentic, something that matters. And when you can't find that, you'd rather say nothing at all. This preference isn't about being selective or picky. It's about energetic survival. Every meaningless conversation costs you something. Every forced smile, every polite nod to topics that bore your soul. It all accumulates like debt. You've probably noticed that after social gatherings filled with shallow interactions, you feel exhausted in a way that sleep can't fix. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. Your silence isn't empty. When you're quiet, you're often perceiving things others miss entirely. You're reading the room on levels most people don't even know exist. You're noticing the sadness behind someone's laughter, the fear beneath someone's bravado, the loneliness hiding in plain sight. Your silence is active, engaged, almost archaeological in how it digs beneath surfaces. Jung would say this is because old souls don't just hear words, they hear souls. And most conversations in modern society are designed specifically to avoid soul-level communication. We've built entire social structures around keeping things light, safe, superficial. For you, this feels like living in a world where everyone speaks a language that technically makes sense but says absolutely nothing. You're not meant to waste your precious energy on empty exchanges. You're meant to seek out the rare conversations that actually nourish the soul. 2. You feel nostalgia for places you've never been. This connection to your need for depth extends to something even stranger. You feel homesick for places you've never visited. You see a photograph of a landscape you've never been to, and something inside you aches with recognition. You hear music from a culture you've never studied, and tears come for reasons you can't explain. You read about a historical period you never lived through, and you feel like you're remembering, not learning. Jung called this the memory of the soul, a phenomenon that can't be explained by personal experience alone. According to his research, old souls carry imprints from the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of human experience that transcends individual lifetimes. You're not just remembering your own past, you're accessing something far more ancient and universal. Maybe you've always felt inexplicably connected to the ocean, even if you grew up landlocked. Or perhaps ancient forests call to you in a way that feels like grief and joy mixed together. Some old souls feel this pull towards specific countries, Japan, Ireland, Egypt, Peru, places they've never visited but somehow know. Others feel it toward time periods, the Renaissance, ancient Greece, or even eras before recorded history. What makes this particularly intense is that these aren't casual preferences. They're visceral experiences that can stop you in your tracks. You might be scrolling through images online and suddenly freeze, your heart racing, looking at a street in Prague or a temple in India, and something in you screams, "I know this place." You might hear a piece of classical music and feel transported, not to a memory, but to a state of being that feels more real than your current life. Jung discovered that these experiences often intensify during certain life phases, particularly during what he called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. As you peel away layers of social conditioning and false identity, these soul memories become clearer, more insistent. They're not distractions from your real life, they're clues to it. The modern world doesn't know what to do with people like you, but these feelings of recognition aren't random. They're your soul remembering its journey, pointing you toward the experiences and places that hold keys to your deepest purpose. 3. Crises transform you. They don't destroy you. While most people run from difficulty, you seem to have a different relationship with crisis. It's not that you enjoy suffering or seek out pain. It's that somewhere deep inside, you understand that breakdown is often the doorway to breakthrough. When life falls apart around you, something in you actually wakes up. Jung spent years studying what he called the dark night of the soul, those devastating periods when everything you thought you knew crumbles. He noticed that while these experiences destroyed some people, they transformed others completely. The difference wasn't luck or circumstance, it was whether someone could see crisis as an invitation rather than a punishment. You've probably been through things that would have broken most people. Maybe you've lost everything. Maybe you've faced betrayal that shattered your trust. Maybe illness, death, or failure knocked you to your knees. But here's what's remarkable. You're still here, and you're not just surviving, you're different. Deeper, more real, like coal that became diamond under pressure. This doesn't mean you don't suffer. Old souls feel pain intensely, perhaps more intensely than others, because they feel everything at greater depth. But you've learned something crucial. Pain is information. Suffering is a teacher. Crisis is the universe's brutal but effective way of burning away everything false, everything that doesn't serve your true purpose. When your world collapses, you don't just try to rebuild the same structure. You question why it was built that way in the first place. You use the rubble to create something entirely new. This is what Jung meant by psychological death and rebirth. The old self must die for the true self to emerge. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding this death. You've learned to surrender to it. There's a strange kind of courage in this, not the loud, aggressive kind of bravery, but a quiet willingness to let yourself be unmade and remade. You've discovered that clinging to what's falling apart only prolongs the agony. The faster you let go, the faster the transformation can occur. This wisdom doesn't come from books. It comes from having been shattered and reassembled enough times to trust the process. 4. You see patterns that others ignore. This ability to transform through crisis has sharpened something in you that most people never develop. You see patterns everywhere, not just obvious ones, but the hidden connections that link seemingly unrelated events. You notice when the same lesson keeps appearing in different disguises. You recognize cycles repeating across your life, your relationships, even in world events. Jung called this pattern recognition of the psyche, the ability to perceive the underlying structures that govern human behavior and life itself. While most people see isolated incidents, you see the larger design. Someone tells you about their problem, and within minutes you've identified the root pattern they've been playing out for years, possibly decades. This isn't about being smart or educated. Plenty of highly intelligent people miss these patterns completely because they're too caught up in details. Your ability comes from somewhere else, from having walked through enough darkness to understand how the human soul actually works. You've seen your own patterns so clearly, faced them so honestly, that now you can't help but see them everywhere. You notice when someone is sabotaging their own happiness. You see when people are repeating their parents' mistakes. You recognize when entire societies are caught in cycles of behavior that will inevitably lead to certain outcomes. This can be isolating because you often see the car crash coming long before it happens, and there's usually nothing you can do but watch. But this pattern recognition isn't just about seeing problems. You also notice the beautiful patterns, the synchronicities, the meaningful coincidences, the way life seems to conspire to teach us exactly what we need to learn. You see how your worst moments led directly to your greatest growth. You recognize when people are about to have breakthroughs. You sense when change is coming before any evidence appears. Jung believed this ability was one of the defining characteristics of psychological maturity. Most people live their entire lives on the surface, reacting to each event as if it's random and unconnected. Old souls understand that nothing is random. Everything is connected. Every experience is part of a larger pattern that's trying to wake you up, grow you, transform you into who you're meant to become. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. 5. Solitude is your refuge, not your punishment. This pattern recognition naturally leads you to another defining characteristic. You need solitude like others need air. But it's not about being antisocial or avoiding people. It's about energy, truth, and the exhausting weight of living in a world that operates on frequencies you've outgrown. When you're alone, something in you settles. The constant noise of other people's emotions, expectations, and energies finally quiets down. You can hear yourself think. You can feel what you actually feel, not what you're supposed to feel. This isn't loneliness. This is coming home to yourself. Jung understood this deeply. He spent significant portions of his life in solitude, recognizing that certain kinds of inner work can only happen when you're alone. He noticed that old souls need this space not because they're damaged or antisocial, but because their inner world is so rich, so complex, that it requires time and quiet to explore. You've probably noticed that most people fill every silence with distraction. They can't sit with themselves for more than a few minutes before reaching for their phone, turning on the television, or calling someone. They're afraid of what they might find in the quiet. But you're different. You seek it out, you protect it, you need it like food and water. This creates tension in a world that glorifies constant connection and social activity. People don't understand why you turn down invitations. They think you're depressed or stuck or missing out. They can't comprehend that you're not running from life. You're running toward a deeper version of it. The shallow connections they chase feel like death to you. Your solitude feels more alive than their parties. But here's what's truly beautiful about this need. In your solitude, you're not really alone. You're connected to something vast, something that most people never touch because they're too busy staying busy. You're in conversation with your deeper self, with nature, with the mysteries that don't show up in crowded rooms. This is where your real life happens. This is where you become who you actually are. 6. Children and animals trust you instantly. And yet, despite your need for solitude, there are beings who see straight through to your soul without you saying a word. Children and animals. They gravitate toward you in ways that surprise even you. A child will walk past a room full of adults and climb into your lap. A nervous dog will calm in your presence. Cats choose you. Birds land near you. It's like they can sense something others can't. Jung explored this phenomenon extensively, noting that children and animals operate from instinct and energy rather than social programming. They haven't learned to trust words over feelings, appearance over essence. They read souls, not resumes. And what they sense in you is authenticity, depth, and a lack of pretense that makes them feel safe. You don't talk down to children. You don't treat them like incomplete adults or dismiss their feelings as unimportant. Something in you remembers what it's like to see the world through eyes that haven't been taught what to ignore. You take their questions seriously. You listen when they talk about their imaginary friends or their dreams or their fears. And they know you're actually listening, not just waiting for your turn to correct or instruct them. With animals, it's even more direct. They don't care about your job, your achievements, or how you look. They're reading your energy, your intention, your soul. And they recognize something in you that makes them relax. Perhaps it's your calmness. Perhaps it's that you don't need anything from them. Perhaps it's that you see them as beings, not objects or accessories. This instant trust reveals something crucial about old souls. You carry a frequency of authenticity that the most sensitive beings naturally respond to. You're not performing or pretending. You're not trying to manipulate or control. You're simply present, and that presence feels safe. In a world where most people are so caught up in their masks and agendas, this authenticity stands out like light in darkness. What's remarkable is that you probably don't even try to create this connection, it just happens. A toddler reaches for your hand, a rescue dog finally comes out from hiding when you visit, a wild bird feeds while you watch. These aren't coincidences, they're recognitions. These beings see in you what you sometimes struggle to see in yourself, a soul that's old, wise, and trustworthy. 7. You question everything, especially yourself. This recognition from innocent beings might make you think old souls are certain and confident, but the opposite is true. You question everything, especially yourself. While others cling to beliefs and identities with rigid certainty, you're constantly examining, doubting, and reconsidering what you think you know. Jung called this the examined life, and he considered it essential for psychological growth. Most people build their entire existence on unexamined assumptions, beliefs they inherited from parents, society, or culture, without ever questioning if these beliefs are actually true or useful. You can't do that. Something in you compels you to dig deeper, to challenge every assumption, to ask the uncomfortable questions that make others defensive. This isn't comfortable. Constantly questioning means you rarely feel the false security that comes from certainty. You watch others cling to their political beliefs, their religious doctrines, their self-image, as if these things are solid ground. Meanwhile, you're standing on shifting sand, aware that almost everything you believe could be wrong or incomplete. This awareness is both your burden and your gift. You question your motives. When you do something kind, you wonder if you're truly being generous or just feeding your ego. When you're angry, you ask what fear is hiding beneath the rage. When you're certain about something, that certainty itself becomes suspicious. Why are you so sure? What are you avoiding by being so convinced? This level of self-examination can look like self-doubt to others, but it's actually the opposite. It's self-honesty. You're willing to see your own shadows, your own contradictions, your own capacity for delusion. Most people spend their entire lives running from this kind of honesty. You run toward it, even when it hurts. Jung discovered that this questioning is how transformation happens. Every breakthrough begins with a willingness to doubt what you thought was true. Every evolution of consciousness requires destroying your current understanding to make room for something deeper. Old souls understand this instinctively. They know that certainty is the enemy of growth. But here's what makes this truly powerful. Your questioning isn't cynical or nihilistic. You're not doubting for the sake of doubt. You're searching for what's actually true beneath all the layers of conditioning and pretense. You're willing to be wrong 1,000 times if it means getting closer to something real. This kind of humility is rare. This kind of courage is revolutionary. 8. The material world never fills your void. All this questioning naturally leads you to a painful realization that connects back to your need for depth. Material things never satisfy you the way they seem to satisfy others. You've probably tried. You've bought the things, achieved the goals, reached the milestones, and every time there's a moment of excitement followed by a hollow emptiness that nothing external can fill. Jung spent years exploring what he called the spiritual poverty of modern life, the way people try to fill soul hunger with material consumption. He watched as society became increasingly obsessed with possessions, status, and external validation, while inner fulfillment became more elusive. For old souls, this disconnect is especially painful because you feel it so acutely. You watch people chase money, success, beauty, fame, all the things society promises will make you happy. And you see the emptiness in their eyes, even when they get what they wanted. You've experienced this yourself enough times to know that the problem isn't that you haven't achieved enough. The problem is that you're hungry for something that can't be bought, earned, or possessed. This doesn't mean you reject material comfort or live in poverty by choice. It means you understand that these things are tools, not destinations. A comfortable home is nice. Financial security reduces stress. But they don't touch the deeper longing that drives you. That longing is for meaning, for purpose, for connection to something vast and true. You've probably gone through phases of trying to fit into the material chase. Maybe you threw yourself into career success or spent money trying to fill the void. But it never worked, did it? The promotions felt empty. The purchases lost their shine within days. The achievements looked impressive to others, but felt meaningless to you. This realization can be devastating in a culture that offers no alternative narrative. If success and possessions don't satisfy, what does? This is where many old souls get lost, caught between a world they've outgrown and a destination they can't yet see. The void remains, and nothing external will ever fill it. Because the void isn't asking for more things, it's asking for you to remember who you actually are beneath all the layers of identity and achievement. 9. You feel the world's pain as your own. This inability to find satisfaction in material things opens you up to something even heavier. You feel the world's suffering as if it's your own. You can't watch the news without your heart breaking. You can't walk past a homeless person without carrying their sadness for days. The violence, injustice, and cruelty that others somehow manage to compartmentalize crashes into you like waves. Jung called this collective suffering. The awareness that all pain is connected, that separation is an illusion, that when anyone suffers, we all suffer whether we're conscious of it or not. Most people build walls to protect themselves from this awareness. They have to, or they'd be overwhelmed. But old souls have thinner walls, or no walls at all. You feel everything. This isn't about being emotional or overly sensitive, though people probably accuse you of both. It's about having a soul that's connected to the larger web of existence. You physically feel the wrongness of cruelty. You sense the collective grief under society's surface. You carry knowledge of suffering that isn't even yours, but somehow is. Some days, this gift feels more like a curse. You wonder why you can't just tune it out like others seem to do. Why do you have to feel so much? Why does the pain of strangers affect you so deeply? Why can't you just focus on your own life and let the world's problems stay distant and abstract? But here's what Jung discovered. This capacity to feel collective pain is directly related to your capacity for transformation. The same openness that allows suffering in is what allows wisdom, compassion, and deep understanding in. You can't selectively numb yourself. If you close your heart to the world's pain, you close it to everything else too. This empathy is exhausting, yes. It's heavy, yes. But it's also what makes you capable of holding space for others in their darkest moments. It's what allows you to see beneath surface behaviors to the wounds driving them. It's what gives your presence healing power even when you don't realize it. You've learned to carry pain without being destroyed by it, which means others can bring their pain to you and find it becomes somehow more bearable. 10. Your dreams are portals, not just images. While carrying the world's weight during your waking hours, your sleeping life offers something others rarely experience. Your dreams aren't just random images or stress processing, they're portals to deeper dimensions of consciousness. You wake from dreams that feel more real than waking life, carrying messages and symbols that guide you for months or years afterward. Jung revolutionized how we understand dreams, recognizing them as direct communication from the unconscious mind. For old souls, this communication is particularly vivid and meaningful. Your dreams show you truths your conscious mind refuses to see. They warn you of dangers. They reveal hidden aspects of yourself. They connect you to wisdom that doesn't exist in books. You probably remember dreams from childhood with perfect clarity. Certain dreams have stayed with you for decades, their symbols and feelings still fresh. You've had dreams that predicted events, though not always literally. You've dreamed of people you'd meet years later. You've received answers to questions in dreams that your waking mind couldn't solve. This isn't magical thinking. It's how consciousness actually works when you're receptive to it. Your dreaming mind has access to information your waking mind filters out. It sees patterns, connections, and possibilities that logic alone can't reach. Jung spent years recording and analyzing his dreams, recognizing them as one of the most reliable guides to psychological truth. You've probably learned to pay attention to recurring dreams, to symbols that appear repeatedly, to the feeling tone of dreams as much as their content. A nightmare isn't just scary, it's showing you what you're avoiding. A beautiful dream isn't just pleasant, it's revealing what your soul truly hungers for. Every dream is a conversation with the deepest parts of yourself. The modern world dismisses dreams as meaningless brain static, but you know better. You followed their guidance and watched your life transform. You've ignored their warnings and paid the price. Your dreams are teachers, therapists, and guides rolled into one. They're showing you who you are beneath your ego's stories. They're connecting you to something vast and wise that knows exactly what you need to become whole. 11. You recognize souls, not just faces. This dream wisdom connects to something remarkable about how you experience people. You don't see faces and bodies first. You see souls. When you meet someone, you're reading layers of information that most people don't even know exist. Within minutes, sometimes seconds, you know things about them they've never told anyone. Jung called this soul recognition, the ability to perceive the essence of a person beyond their persona and social mask. Most people interact with carefully constructed identities, the versions of ourselves we present to the world. But old souls see through these masks effortlessly. You're meeting the person beneath the person, the truth beneath the performance. This ability can be startling for both you and them. You might comment on something they're struggling with, and they stare at you in shock because they never mentioned it. You might feel an instant recognition with someone you just met, as if you've known them forever, or the opposite. You might meet someone everyone loves and feel immediate distrust because you sense the darkness they're hiding. This isn't judgment. It's perception. You're not deciding people are good or bad. You're simply seeing them accurately, which is rarer than it should be. Most people see what they want to see, what they're trained to see, what's comfortable to see. You see what's actually there. This makes small talk even more exhausting because you're aware of so many unspoken truths hovering in the room. Everyone's playing their roles, maintaining their images, while you're seeing the fear, pain, and longing beneath every smile. It's like watching actors who've forgotten their acting while you remember this is all a play. But when you meet another old soul, something extraordinary happens. The recognition is mutual and instant. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to hide. You can drop the act you didn't even know you were maintaining. These encounters are rare but profound, reminding you that you're not alone, that others see what you see, feel what you feel. 12. Time feels different to you. This soul recognition exists outside normal time, which brings us to something you've probably noticed but rarely discussed. Time doesn't feel linear to you the way it seems to for others. Past, present, and future blur together. Moments from childhood feel more present than yesterday. Future possibilities feel so real, you're already mourning or celebrating them. Jung explored this extensively, recognizing that the psyche doesn't experience time the way clocks measure it. For old souls, this non-linear experience is especially pronounced. You might be 30 years old, but feel ancient, or you might be 70 and feel like you're just beginning. Your age doesn't match your sense of yourself. You've probably experienced moments where time seemed to stop completely. Not just slow down, but actually stop. In these moments, everything becomes crystal clear. You see your entire life from a perspective that's impossible to maintain in normal consciousness. Past choices make sudden sense. Future directions become obvious. For a moment, you exist outside time entirely. The opposite happens too. Entire years can pass in what feels like weeks. You look back and can't believe how much time has gone by, or how little has changed despite so much time passing. This isn't about being busy or bored. It's about your consciousness operating on a different frequency than clock time. This relationship with time affects everything. You're often late because you lose track of time completely, absorbed in something timeless. Or you're anxiously early because you feel the weight of future moments pressing into the present. You struggle with deadlines that others handle easily because arbitrary dates feel meaningless when you're operating from a deeper sense of timing. Jung believed this timeless quality was evidence of the soul's eternal nature. Part of you exists outside time, touching something infinite. This is why you feel nostalgia for places you've never been, because you're accessing memories that don't belong to this lifetime. This is why you sometimes know what's coming, because you're seeing from a perspective where it's already happened. 13. You know you're here for something greater. And finally, underneath everything else, you carry an unshakable knowing. You're here for something greater than the ordinary life script society offers. You don't know exactly what it is. You can't name it clearly. But you feel it constantly, this sense of purpose that won't let you settle into comfortable mediocrity. Jung called this the call to individuation, the soul's demand that you become fully yourself, that you fulfill your unique purpose, that you don't waste this precious life on someone else's dreams. For old souls, this call is deafening. You can't ignore it, can't pretend you don't hear it, even when you wish you could. This knowing is both a blessing and a burden. It drives you forward, prevents you from giving up, keeps you searching even when the path is unclear. But it also makes normal life feel like a cage. You watch others content with simple pleasures and steady routines, and you envy them. Why can't you just be satisfied? Why does this hunger for meaning never stop? The truth is, you weren't meant to be satisfied with ordinary. You came here to transform something, to heal something, to create something, to understand something that most people will never touch. Your restlessness isn't a problem to be solved. It's fuel for the journey you're meant to take. This doesn't mean you're destined for fame or external recognition. Your purpose might be quiet, private, invisible to the world. You might be here to heal your family's generational trauma. You might be here to hold space for others' transformation. You might be here to live so authentically that you give others permission to do the same. The size of your impact isn't what matters. The depth of your truth is. Jung spent his life trying to help people hear and answer this call. He knew that ignoring it led to depression, anxiety, and a life that looked successful but felt empty. He knew that following it required courage most people don't have. But he also knew that for old souls, there's really no choice. You can delay the journey, but you can't escape it. Your soul won't let you rest until you become who you actually came here to be.